Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Friday, February 23rd. This is pre-recorded, is not live. I'm taking it casual this week, so I'll be imbibing. So if you got a drink, cheers. It's just been one of those weeks. Boss is out of medical, picking up a lot of slack. Oh, mama! So there's no way I'm going to make it to the normal 8:30 time. It's going to be one of those nights where it's like early retirement. So going into this week, jump right into it. Uh, Hope you're doing well. Hope your week is well. Let's begin. Price action. Where are we looking on the price action? It was generally sideways with some upward bias, some downward bias, but generally sideways. Now, we'll see how things go. And then, of course, you had some protocols that spiked. Uniswap, not a protocol I follow, so that had a huge spike. Wow, that's a huge spike. People cashing in. Here was one. Oh, I think I saw news on Filecoin. Two of the protocols I actually have an interest in: Hedera Hashgraph, aka corporate coin, and then Stacks, which is a layer 2 coin built on top of Bitcoin. Okay. $3 billion. I remember during the bear market of 2018-19, I think maybe one or two, there were only like maybe I saved a screenshot somewhere where only the top 3 protocols were above $1 billion. Gosh, look where we are today. Can go way down the line. Number 82 is over $1 billion, and ApeCoin's probably going to get up there. But anyway, that's that. And the topic that came up to mind, there was a lot of news this week, mixed around the board, a lot of things. But, all right, pop back to here. There is a tweet I would like to share, which kind of goes into this a little bit. I'll read it. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is the revolution. Finite money that can be held in self-custody and sent peer-to-peer without permission. Every other cryptocurrency is fighting for some other much smaller use case. ETH used to be about smart contracts. Then it became ultrasound money. Who knows what it'll be tomorrow? What it won't be is a place you can park a decent percentage of your savings in and be assured that your keys will work 10 years from now and the value will be much higher. No. ETH and all layer 1s other than Bitcoin are at best fighting to be the AWS layer for Web3. Yes. Not clear that this will be a huge dollar generator. Maybe, maybe not. If you can mint 1 million NFTs for $100 on Solana, the value of the SOL token is what? Meme coin? Bitcoin was a clear break from the fiat, and all these coins are pretty close to fiat. So what does this lead into? Kind of leads into where I was going with things, and that is now that Bitcoin has had its chance to shine in the sun, and I guess it's fallen to mainstream adoption of sorts, where it's bridged that gap. It's crossed the Rubicon. The question is, the next ETF on the radar is an Ethereum ETF. So, again, folks, I'm going enormously casual here. There is not an ounce of formality in my bones tonight. So, we're looking at an Ethereum ETF. When I think about that, I think, what would the derivative instrument of an ETF, how would that differ with Ethereum than it would be from Bitcoin? I mean, obviously, it means you're going to have large dollar purchases of it, and that'll create pricing pressure. And because Ethereum is currently deflationary, whereas with Bitcoin, you have a fixed issuance supply that every 4 years or every 200,000 blocks, the reward for each new created block is cut in half. But with the fixed total supply, with Ethereum, excuse me, there is no fixed cap. It'll just be issued into infinity. Or as of, oh God, when was just switch over to proof of stake in 22? 22. Once it switched over to proof of stake, it was either right before or right after where code was put in that would burn a certain amount of ETH for every transaction that occurs. The net effect is that over the overall timeline, the amount of Ethereum in circulation has decreased, essentially making it deflationary. There was some periods a few months back in 2023 where the issuance increased, but the overall amount from the beginning of the protocol change to that point was still an overall decrease. Prior to that, it was just increase with no peg in sight. So looking at a Ethereum ETF, there's the obvious thing of accumulation, and then that'll create additional pressure. But we need to look at what kind of rules will be put in place for the custodians of that ETH, because one of the obvious incentives is that if you have hundreds of thousands of ETH, well, let's do some simple math here on my computer. Let's say we've got a $1 billion ETF. We'll divide that by, say, 5,000 on a nice side. Just go, you've got hundreds of millions of ETH that could get sucked up with $1 billion in value. I imagine it'd probably be somewhere depends on what the overall price is. That is a lot of staking nodes right there. That is also a lot of incentive to do staking for returns. And unless something is spelled out that says the custodian of ETH for an ETF cannot stake, they're going to be incentivized to stake, whether they do it on their own volition, whether it's done with the consent or request of whoever the fund manager is, BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, Wisdom Tree, whoever it is, and they say, let's do a 50-50 split. We bring in the business, you do the staking, we split the rewards and sell it on, do what you wish. We're going to sell in the open market and monetize that stuff, whatever. But it opens the door where with Bitcoin, you can own Bitcoin and you get that degree of influence of being able to steer people in a certain direction. I mentioned this on a previous broadcast where one of the risks would be, or actually, it was pointed out, Charles Hoskinson, and then what Bitcoin did, the interview that had two people on there. These institutions can try and introduce new protocols, new Bitcoin, try and adopt a new standard. We'll see. That's to be seen, just because there's a lot of people who have vested interests and network effect built up with the current form of Bitcoin Core. With Ethereum, and expanding now into other smart contract platforms, you have protocols that, mentioning, going back to our tweet here, that, used to be about smart contracts, then became ultrasound money, then became about NFTs. Now it's all about Web3 and AI. And because these are still works in progress, because they're continuously evolving protocols, you have a situation where we don't know what kind of code's going to get injected into these protocols, and we don't know if there's large institutional money, how that's going to influence things, because we have dev teams that have a lot more influence, the impression I get, in the space than, say, Bitcoin developers or people who are trying to contribute to that particular project. So, people that rub elbows with Joe Lublin, am I getting his name right? People that donate money to the Ethereum Foundation, people that talk to the devs, people that deal with Vitalik. These can all be points of influence. Also, as far as taxation, as far as regulation, those are pressure points as well. And because these protocols have lots of hard forks, Bitcoin, it's all soft forks. You could be running a Bitcoin node from 10 years ago and still be able to connect to the network and still be able to move your coins. Everything is backwards compatible. You don't have to have the latest and greatest Bitcoin Core wallet. You can have one 5 years old and still have accessibility and utility on the network. That's one of the great things. And then when Michael Saylor talks about, and Bitcoin is one of these assets that 100 years from now, because if that consistency remains and continues, you'll be able to hold those keys for the wallet, never access it for a decade, multiple decades, and then down the line, it would be accessible because there would be no hard fork. There would be no upgrade needed. Whereas with all the smart contract platforms, it's evolving so much with adding and changing and modifying utilities so much that it's a hard fork here, a hard fork there, here a fork, there a fork, everywhere a fork. Smart contract platforms never sit still. E-I-E-I-O. Like I said, it's been a week. And so, that point about not knowing what the identity of these is, those create pressure points. And so, as far as be gone with E, we're done with the notes. As far as something that's going to have an effect on price just because of accumulation and also just the interest that would ramp up from it. Yeah, an Ethereum ETF and a Solana ETF and any other ones. Dear God, if they made an XRP ETF, I don't know why anyone would bother investing in that token because it's so it's completely centralized. There's the only thing open source about it is the token community. I know of nothing. It's run by the Ripple Corporation. It is issued to moneyed interest customers. And to me, those are the only people that matter with those tokens, not the people who buy a whole bunch and want to invest and see the price go up. And the Ripple company also issues the tokens, and they can change the issuance on whatever they want to do, whatever they feel is right. If they need to create more tokens because they have more customers, they're going to do that. And the token holder community, is second fiddle. So I'm dunking a little bit. If we're going to do a dunk, Ethereum is not ultrasound money because you don't know how many Ethereum will exist 2 years from now, 2 months from now. You don't know what protocol changes are going to happen because they're going to be protocol changes and the incentives are going to change too. So there's lots of risks. As far as pricing, yeah, it'll definitely influence that. But as far as the protocol, that's something to just keep an eye on and look at. And that's really it. So, wrap up. Short, sweet, simple. And yeah, be sure to follow on all the social media platforms listed in the show notes. In the weekend, I've got the summaries, video, headlines, tweets. You can see what's going on from the 10,000-foot view. And with that, I'll say be well, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.